Picture this, really paint the scene in your mind. You wake up in a sprawling penthouse suite, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a breathtaking panoramic view of Central Park. You glance at your phone, and a notification casually informs you that your investment portfolio just swelled by another cool million overnight. Your calendar, it's surprisingly sparse, with the most pressing engagement listed simply as lunch on the yacht. Sounds like the absolute dream, right? In that moment, you'd probably feel utterly invincible, wouldn't you? Like you've cracked the code to ultimate contentment, that life's biggest challenges have simply melted away. Well, here's the unexpected, almost jarring twist. Just last year, a team of dedicated researchers embarked on a fascinating quest. They approached 400 individuals who weren't just wealthy, but ultra high net worth, the kind of people whose financial resources are almost unfathomable to most of us. The question they posed was deceptively simple. Do you genuinely wake up feeling happy? The answer from nearly half of them wasn't a resounding yes, but a quiet, almost melancholic, not really. That single, understated admission, that whispered truth from the pinnacle of financial success, is precisely why we're diving into this topic today. It challenges everything we've been taught and implicitly believe about wealth and well-being. So, are the rich actually happy? Is the pursuit of immense wealth truly the direct path to enduring joy, or is it a far more convoluted journey than we imagine? Most of us, from our earliest days, are fed the same comforting, almost mythical bedtime story. It's a narrative deeply woven into the fabric of our culture. Once you're rich, truly wealthy, life automatically switches into easy mode. The struggles, the stress, the petty dramas of everyday existence, they're all supposed to vanish, replaced by an endless parade of private jets, exotic locales, and an almost perpetual, effortless smile plastered across your face. This isn't just a quiet assumption. Social media, with its relentless curated perfection, pounds that message home daily, amplifying it to deafening levels. Scroll through any feed for a mere 30 seconds, and what do you see? A teenager, barely old enough to drive, casually flexing the keys to a Lamborghini they didn't earn. A tech founder, barely out of college, bragging about their 4-hour work week while sipping cocktails on a beach. Our impressionable brains soak up these dazzling images and sound bites like sponges, processing them into a deceptively simple yet incredibly powerful equation. Wealth equals happiness. It's a direct, undeniable causal link, or so we're led to believe. Psychology keeps waving a big red flag at this idea. Yes, having more money does link to feeling happier day to day, but the connection is much smaller than we think, and it doesn't last. The curve flatlines quickly, like your Wi-Fi dropping the second you enter a tunnel. In other words, the story that endless wealth equals endless happiness ignores the fine print. It's a polished lie, and most of us have bought into it. What the data actually says. Let's rewind a bit. Back to 2010, when two Nobel laureates, Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton, dropped what many in the academic world considered an absolute bombshell. Their groundbreaking research revealed a fascinating and often misunderstood truth: emotional well-being, that day-to-day feeling of joy, contentment, and lack of stress, does indeed rise with income, but, and this is the critical part, it only does so until a certain point. Specifically, they found this sweet spot hovered around $75,000 a year. After that threshold, the line on the graph depicting happiness against income goes almost completely horizontal. It flattens out. Adjusted for today's inflation and cost of living, that $75,000 figure translates to roughly $95,000 annually. What does this mean in practical terms? It means that up to that $95,000 mark, more money genuinely helps. It allows you to pay your rent without panic attacks, cover your bills comfortably, ensure your family's safety, afford decent healthcare, and even treat yourself to a good cup of coffee without guilt. It significantly reduces the chronic stressors that erode daily happiness. But once those fundamental needs and a comfortable baseline are met, Once you're past that 95,000 mark, extra cash, while still nice to have, doesn't actually buy you extra daily happiness. Sure, it buys you nicer problems. Instead of worrying about making rent, you might be debating with your spouse whether the Wi-Fi in your Maldives villa is fast enough for your streaming needs, or agonizing over which private jet to take to your next business meeting. These are objectively nicer problems than genuine financial hardship, but they don't contribute to a deeper, more profound sense of daily well-being. More recent, expansive studies leveraging millions of data points from diverse populations across the globe consistently show the exact same curve. It's the idea that each additional unit of something, in this case money, provides less and less additional satisfaction. Your brain, in its wonderfully pragmatic way, simply calls it, "I'm used to this now, what's next?" The novelty and its associated joy fades into the background noise of your new normal. The hedonic treadmill. Ever had that exhilarating feeling of upgrading to the latest smartphone? For the first 3 days, you probably felt like a technological demigod, effortlessly navigating its sleek interface, marveling at its new features, convinced you'd finally reached peak digital existence. Then, almost imperceptibly, the novelty wore off. Within a week, it was just your phone. That initial burst of excitement, that fleeting sense of elevated status, completely evaporated, and you totally forgot about the thrill. That, my friends, is the hedonic treadmill in action, a relentless psychological phenomenon that dictates much of our pursuit of happiness. Now imagine scaling that same process up dramatically. Instead of a phone, picture acquiring a sprawling mansion with 20 rooms, a gleaming Ferrari that turns heads everywhere, or even your very own private island. The initial dopamine surge, the rush of accomplishment and pleasure, is undoubtedly intense. You feel on top of the world. Dopamine spikes that accompany new acquisitions or achievements are powerful, but they are also transient. They settle back down. Yesterday's dream purchase, the object of intense longing and anticipation, swiftly becomes today's background clutter. The ultra-rich, despite their immense resources, are absolutely not immune to this. In fact, you could argue they're running on an even fancier, faster, hedonic treadmill. Consider the poignant confession of one Silicon Valley millionaire who, after accumulating an astounding fortune, candidly admitted to researchers, "I really thought the third sports car would feel different. I genuinely believed it would unlock some new level of satisfaction, but honestly, it was just another thing that needed an oil change." The brain, perpetually seeking that next hit of novelty and reward, causes the goalpost of happiness to slide relentlessly forward. It's a high-stakes game of keeping up with ourselves, and it's exhausting. Social comparison on steroids. Here's where the pursuit of immense wealth can actually be a double-edged sword, often backfiring spectacularly. When you're earning, say, $30,000 a year, your natural reference group for comparison is typically your immediate social circle. Your neighbors, your coworkers, your friends from college. You compare your car, your house, your vacation plans to theirs, and that informs your sense of financial well-being. But when your income rockets to $30 million, your entire reference group undergoes a radical, often detrimental shift. Suddenly, you're not comparing yourself to your old college buddy, you're comparing yourself to the private jet-owning moguls you meet at exclusive charity galas, or the fellow billionaires whose net worth is meticulously detailed on the Forbes list. In this rarefied air, there's always someone with a bigger yacht, an even more successful and younger startup, a more impressive art collection, or that one Picasso you didn't quite manage to bid on. This isn't just idle observation. Psychologists have extensively studied this phenomenon and found that relative income, how your wealth stacks up against those around you, often predicts your happiness levels far better than your absolute income. The translation is stark and simple. Feeling genuinely rich, feeling successful and content with your financial standing depends far more on who's sitting next to you at that exclusive dinner party than on the actual number in your bank account. It's a comparison trap, and the higher you climb, the deeper the trap becomes. Loneliness at the top. It's a cliche, but like many cliches, it's true. Being super rich often comes with a very human problem. You'll hear it in their voices, almost like the lyrics of a sad country song. I don't know who likes me for me and who just wants my money. Think about it. If picking up the check for a casual dinner equals what most people make in a month, it's bound to make friendships awkward. The balance shifts. Trust becomes fragile. Real connection feels harder and harder to find. Some wealthy people deal with this by pulling away. They close the gates literally and figuratively and shrink their circle of trust. One real estate tycoon worth hundreds of millions admitted with sadness that he hadn't set foot in a grocery store in 15 years. It didn't happen all at once. Slowly, little by little, he lost the ordinary, everyday interactions that keep us feeling human. The quick chat with a cashier, the smile from a stranger, the small talk about the weather. These little moments seem minor, but they are the glue that holds daily life together. Science backs this up. Happiness comes far more from strong, genuine relationships than from the size of your bank account. Money can certainly attract people. It can fill a room with eager faces, but it can't buy true trust, unconditional support, or the kind of real laughter you get when you're crammed in a dorm room splitting a cheap pizza with friends. Those kinds of bonds built on honesty, shared struggles, and mutual respect are priceless. And ironically, the higher you climb financially, the more you risk losing them. At the top, the air often feels colder and lonelier than you'd ever expect. How money is spent matters more than how much. All right, here's the practical part. The stuff you can actually use in your life starting today, no matter how much money you make. This isn't about having more money. It's about being smarter with the money you already have. Research on happiness shows something very clear. Experiences bring people more lasting joy than material things. Think about it. A weekend hiking trip with close friends, filled with laughter, shared challenges, and unforgettable views, will almost always leave you happier than a shiny new watch, even if the watch costs 10 times more than the trip. Why? Because experiences don't just sit on a shelf, they become part of your story. They live on in your memories, they shape who you are, and you can revisit them over and over. That watch, no matter how nice, eventually becomes just another object you barely notice. There's another powerful strategy too, one that's often ignored. Using money to buy back your time. That means paying for things that drain your energy so you can focus on what really matters. Hiring someone to clean your house, using a grocery delivery service, or paying for a babysitter so you can finally enjoy an evening out. These aren't just luxuries, they're smart investments in your well-being. They lower stress, free up valuable hours, and let you spend your time on what actually makes you feel good, building relationships, exercising, pursuing hobbies, or simply getting more sleep. The irony is that many people who suddenly get rich do the opposite. They blow their money on flashy cars, giant houses, and piles of stuff. But soon, they realize something's still missing: their time. Even with all that wealth, they're still stuck with chores, responsibilities, and the stress that comes with managing it all. That's why one of the most powerful happiness hacks isn't about accumulating more, it's about protecting your time. The purpose problem. After a certain point, and it's often lower than you'd expect, having more money doesn't add much to your life. Sure, at first it sounds amazing. No more scrambling to pay bills, no more worrying about basics, just total ease. But here's the twist. Human beings are wired to need goals, challenges, and something to work toward. When every need is instantly met and every desire can be satisfied, a strange emptiness often shows up. Take the story of a hedge fund star who retired at just 38 after making a massive fortune. He admitted, "Without the work, without clear goals, I felt like a video game character who had already beaten the final boss, just wandering around an empty map." His words capture the deep sense of aimlessness that can follow extreme wealth. Once the game of making money is won, purpose doesn't just matter, it becomes the main fuel for lasting happiness. That's why so many ultra-wealthy people eventually turn towards something bigger than themselves, they dive into philanthropy, mentor younger generations, or launch bold projects designed to outlast them. Whether it's funding medical research, supporting the arts, or creating social impact, these efforts light up the brain in ways another luxury watch or private jet never could. Because in the end, it's not really about the money, it's about what money allows you to build, give, and contribute. Without that higher purpose, even the most glamorous life can start to feel empty, disconnected, and without direction. The sweet spot strategy. Step 1, secure your baseline. This means reaching a stable level of income around $95,000 a year in many studies, where your basic needs are comfortably covered. At this stage, you're not stressing about paying bills, keeping a roof over your head, or affording healthcare. Practically, it means building an emergency fund, paying off debt, and creating stability. Getting rid of that constant financial stress is one of the biggest boosts to happiness. Step 2, buy time and invest in experiences. Once your foundation is solid, instead of upgrading to a bigger house or buying another luxury item, think about hiring help with chores, using a meal service, or spending on shared experiences like trips or concerts with friends. These choices either give you back your time or deepen your connections. Step 3, guard against lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is when your spending keeps growing just because your income does, and suddenly enough is never enough. The solution: define your personal enough. Decide what feels right for housing, travel, or the little luxuries that truly make life better. Then put the rest of your money to work with purpose, whether that's charitable giving, long-term investments, or funding projects that matter to you. This way, your money serves your values instead of pulling you into endless comparison games. If you're finding genuine value and a fresh perspective here, do me a quick favor. Smash that like button. It helps us know we're on the right track, and consider subscribing for more valuable content. Voices from the vault. Take the tech founder who sold his company for a staggering $400 million. When asked about the happiest day of his life, everyone expected him to say it was the day the deal closed or the day the money hit his account. Instead, his answer was simple and deeply human. It was an afternoon spent building a treehouse with his young daughter. They bent nails, laughed at their mistakes, and figured things out together. That small, messy, joyful moment meant more to him than the mountain of money he had earned. Or consider the Hollywood star worth over $200 million. He admitted his happiness only started to improve when he stopped asking, "What should I buy next?" and started asking, "Who do I actually want in my life? Who do I want to spend my time with?" That shift from things to people completely changed his priorities and gave him a deeper sense of fulfillment. Then there's the cryptocurrency millionaire who hit 8 figures by the age of 26. Instead of endless joy, the money left him depressed and empty. The high of success faded quickly, and he was adrift. His turning point didn't come from another investment, but from giving back. He started teaching coding to high school students, and seeing their excitement and growth gave him a sense of purpose he didn't realize he'd lost. The pattern here is hard to miss. Once your basic needs and security are covered, meaning and connection matter far more than raw wealth. Why we still don't believe it? You might be nodding along right now, agreeing with everything we've talked about, but maybe there's still a little voice in your head whispering, "Yeah, but I'd still love to test that out for myself just to be sure." That thought is totally normal. In fact, there's a strong psychological reason behind it. The idea that money equals happiness isn't just a casual belief, it's woven into our culture. It shows up in movies, in well-meaning advice from family, and in the flashy lifestyles influencers parade on social media. We're constantly soaking in that message without even realizing it. Here's the catch: our brains are notoriously bad at what psychologists call affective forecasting, basically predicting how we'll actually feel in the future. When we imagine winning the lottery, for example, we picture the fun parts: parties, luxury, freedom. What we don't imagine are the downsides, new stresses, strained relationships, or how quickly we adapt and start treating our dream life as normal. At the same time, we often underestimate the happiness hidden in everyday life, the calm of walking your dog through the park, a friendly chat with a neighbor, or sharing a simple meal with loved ones. These small, frequent moments add up and often bring more lasting joy than one big, flashy experience. The problem is, until you see the research, until you understand how the hedonic treadmill and social comparison really work, the fantasy of unlimited wealth still feels irresistible. It's vivid, it's powerful, and it's deeply ingrained in our minds. Breaking free from that illusion takes awareness and deliberate effort, but it's possible. The takeaway for normal people, the truth that's actually freeing for most of us who don't have private jets parked outside. You don't need a fortune to tap into these happiness hacks. In fact, many of the most powerful strategies are available to you right now. No matter your income, start small by making choices that buy back a little time. These little moves may seem minor, but they add up to less stress and more time for the things that actually recharge you. Next, direct your spending, however modest, toward experiences, especially ones that involve people you care about. Experiences bring joy in the anticipation, the moment itself, and even in the memories afterward. There's also a free strategy with huge impact: gratitude journaling. It sounds almost too simple, but it works. By regularly writing down things you're grateful for, you gradually train your brain to focus on what's good. Over time, those small acknowledgments build like compound interest, shifting your mindset from scarcity to abundance. And finally, maybe the most important hack of all, set relationship goals, not just financial ones. Make your connections a top priority. That treasure chest of wealth we're all chasing often has a false bottom. Lasting happiness isn't found in the money itself, it's in the journey, the people we share it with, and the purpose that drives us forward. If this shifted how you think about happiness, share it with a friend, comment your biggest takeaway below, and subscribe for more insights that flip conventional wisdom on its head.